Welcome to Optimal Game State. And today we're going to delve into the Warhammer lore to learn a little about gnomes. Now, if you've never heard of gnomes in a Warhammer setting, you're not alone. There's not really a lot on them. But they have recently become prominent again with the preview of the new Gnome Blood Bowl team. Now, Blood Bowl is what we can at best call Warhammer adjacent. Blood Bowl history diverged from the old world at a battle between dwarves and orcs where they stumbled upon an ancient arena, and one of the dwarves translates an ancient book with the rules of Blood Bowl. All conflicts from then on are resolved on the pitch. So it's a very jokey, fun version of the setting, but it still does have its roots in the old world. The Blood Bowl gnomes in the preview are painted very much in the style of garden gnomes with red hats and blue tunics. Now, in the setting, they're a little bit darker than that. Graham Davis, the co-author, developer of the first edition of the RPG, had a short article which I've linked in the description, and there he talks about the origins of gnomes in the setting. He mentions that Citadel did have a few gnome miniatures in the catalogue, presumably because they were in D&D and the original Warhammer was basically produced as an alternative setting for D&D. Phil Gallagher then added them to the first edition of the Warhammer role-playing game in a copy of White Dwarf back in 1987, which was later reprinted by Hogshead Publishing in their Apocrypha Now compilation. In his article, Graham does mention that the second edition reprint of his adventure, A Rough Knight and Three Feathers, did change the character who was originally a gnome to a halfling. So, although they had a bit of a history, it was clear they weren't really a major focus in the setting. And while that one character was changed to another race, the gnomes weren't really written out, they just didn't feature anymore. Although there was a reference to a gnomish detective, Alphonse Hercules de Gascoigne, in an adventure, which I think appeared for the second edition. Anyway, that article from Graham was back in 2014. And in 2019, Graham had the opportunity to redo the adventure with Cubicle 7. As part of that, he added in the gnomish character again, and in the same book, Andy Law included the race as an option for players in the current 4th edition. So it is a small appendix at the back of Rough Nights and Hard Days, which we are going to look at. The first thing to understand about gnomes is why no one talks about them. And to most of the Empire, they're just fanciful tales of magical tricksters. To be fair, there aren't a lot of gnomes, so it's no surprise that most haven't met one. And even those that do often mistake them for scrawny halflings. Gnomes are short and wiry with bulbous noses and large round ears. They have thick hair and a surprisingly deep voice. Gnomes live for about 500 years and have a matriarchal line, so the clan name is inherited from mother and never changes even when they marry. The clan is of great importance to the gnomes. They believe that each clan was made by the gods for a specific purpose, although that purpose has often been lost. Quite secretive by nature, many will keep their clan name hidden, instead taking on some sort of descriptive surname such as Greycloak or Glittereye. Typically, they are respectful of all the gods, making sure to visit temples of places they pass through and make appropriate offerings. They do have their own pantheon, of which there are 3 of note. The first is Ev-On, the goddess of travel, trade, and thievery. Mabon is the goddess of shadows, revenge, and magic, while Ringle is the god of entertainment, merriment, and trickery. All of which I think gives a bit of a flavour for the race. Gnomes that do take to the arcane arts find an affinity with the lore's shadows, so illusionary magic, but they're unable to master the other major lores. They do, however, tend to study some dark magics, although necromancy and demonology have been forbidden along with any kind of chaos magic. This tendency towards the dark arts, whether actual or merely shadow, does tend to attract the attention of witch hunters. Rarely does that come to much, though, as the gnomes are proficient in misdirecting, all but the most tenacious hunters. Their homeland is called Glimdarrow. It's hidden beneath the Mirror Moors at the south of Midland, where locals often refer to them as moorfolk. Their history is a little tragic, though. This used to be a large undercity of thousands, but a century ago a war with the goblins laid the city low, and now only 8 out of the original 44 gnomish clans survive. Today, the caverns of Glimdarrow are mostly empty, and the leaders of the clans blame each other over the tragedy. Glimdarrow is guarded with powerful illusions and the Darrow Guard, elite warrior wizards who make sure those seeking it rarely find anything beyond open moors. The original White Dwarf article did mention gnomish engineers were as sought after as dwarfish ones. That's something the NAF team for Blood Bowl played on. So NAF is one of the player organizations. In the background also mentions the love of fishing, which I think we can see with the new special player. I didn't see any reference to links with animals like the fox, the badgers, and geese that we can see with the new Blood Bowl team, but that could be easily an element you could add into an RPG campaign if you wanted to. It's no real surprise that the gnomes did become a major faction in the game. It's already a bit of a stretch to get halflings into the war game, which is the primary focus of the setting. So it does make sense that they ended up being a side note for the role playing game and are really a pretty minor part of the setting overall. But obviously, were something dear to the heart of some, and now with this release of the Blood Bowl team, maybe they'll become a bit of a favourite for more players. So do make sure to check out the notes description where you can see those links. And if you want to know more, this is the book to pick up. It's Rough Nights and Hard Days from the Cubicle 7 guys, so part of the WFRP. Hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, have a great day.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.